What if I told you that the fastest way to make a woman feel instantly connected to you is by showing her nothing at all, but reflecting everything she already is? Most men never learn this, but once you do, she won't be able to explain why she feels so drawn to you, only that she does. Stay with me, picture this. You've been texting her every day like clockwork. Morning texts, check-ins after work. The classic "how was your day?" followed by a heart emoji or a flirty gif. You think you're being attentive. You think you're being the nice guy. And then, just like that, she stops responding, ghosted, and you're left wondering what the hell happened. Let me tell you what happened. You became predictable. You stopped being a mystery and became a routine. And nothing kills attraction faster than being expected. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about becoming someone she can't quite figure out. Someone who activates that part of her brain that whispers, "What's going on here? Let me drop a hard truth on you." Attraction thrives in the unknown. Not in the comfort zone. We're not wired to chase what we already possess. We chase what we're not sure we can have. There's a psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle used in casinos. Why do people keep pulling slot machines? Because the rewards come at unpredictable intervals. You never know when you'll win, but when you do, it hits harder. Dopamine floods your brain, and so you pull the lever again. Now imagine being that lever. There's a story I remember. A guy named Lucas, sharp, socially average, but understood one thing most men don't: how to engineer unpredictability. He met a woman at an art show, complimented her taste in sculpture, and then walked away. Didn't ask for her number. No chase, just a spark and silence. 3 days later, he shows up at another exhibit, this time more charismatic, more open, but still elusive. She starts wondering, is this a coincidence? Was he waiting for me? She starts projecting, obsessing, replaying. Why? Because he wasn't always available. His pattern wasn't predictable, and when she finally got his attention, it felt like winning. Understand this: the human mind is addicted to patterns, but it becomes obsessed with patterns that break. When you do the unexpected skip the good morning text, show up late but look like you didn't care, give her space when she wants attention, it creates friction. Emotional friction, and friction breeds fire. There's another example, Maya. She was used to getting attention easily. Her beauty did the heavy lifting. Most guys lined up like eager puppies, tail wagging, hoping for a treat. But one guy, Stefan, played a different game. The night they met, he made her laugh. She leaned in. He leaned out. She complimented his shirt. He smirked and said, "You've got great taste." Sometimes, that moment, that slight, playful challenge, it drove her crazy, not because it was rude, but because it broke the pattern. It added tension. It whispered, "This one's not like the others. That's the game. You must be the plot twist, not the plot line." But don't mistake unpredictability for flakiness. This isn't about disappearing or being unreliable. It's about being strategically unavailable. It's about being emotionally unreadable in a way that fascinates, not frustrates. There's an art to it. Sometimes it's a delayed reply. Other times it's saying no when she expects a yes. Maybe it's ending a date when the energy's still high. Why? Because you leave her wanting. The best performers know not to stay on stage too long. They exit while the applause is still loud. Here's where most men mess up. They think being mysterious means saying less or playing aloof. That's not it. That's lazy. True unpredictability is about rhythm. It's about disrupting emotional expectations. One day you're spontaneous, texting her from the rooftop of a building. The next day, radio silence, not to punish but to reset the frame, and it works because uncertainty equals intensity. You ever wonder why some women stay in toxic relationships longer than they should? It's not just about love. It's about unpredictability. The emotional roller coaster feels more intense than the flat road of stability. That's how powerful this concept is. The brain gets hooked on emotional highs and lows more than it does on consistency. Use this, and use it with care. Because it's not a toy, it's a weapon, and once you realize how to wield it, you'll see just how often people confuse predictability with sincerity. They think being consistent means being genuine, but genuineness without contrast is flat. It doesn't spike the heart. It doesn't stir the mind. It doesn't make you addictive. Let me give you one final story. A woman named Tara told me about the one man she still thinks about 10 years later. He wasn't the best looking, he wasn't the richest, but he had this one thing. She never knew what he'd say next. One night he brought her to a midnight jazz bar. The next night he ghosted her for 3 days. Then he called 2 a.m., said get dressed, we're going dancing. She hated it. She loved it, she craved it. She never knew where she stood, and that made her lean in. That's the game. Be the fire that dances, not the candle that flickers. Give her enough to want more, then pull back before she's full. Don't be her schedule, be her surprise. Don't be her comfort, be her adventure, because once you're predictable, you're replaceable. But once you're unforgettable, you're untouchable, and that's power. You smile, you lean in, you make her laugh. Then you pull back, you check your phone, you pause the energy, you become a little distant, and suddenly she's leaning in. That's the push. Pull dynamic in motion. It's seduction without saying a word. It's the invisible dance of emotions that creates obsession. Most guys push too much. They show too much interest, too soon and for too long. They think attraction is about giving her the full dose of validation upfront. Big mistake. Desire isn't created in the push, it's born in the pull. Let me break it down. Push, pull isn't just flirting. It's psychological warfare dressed up as conversation. It's the tension between I want you, and but not too much. It's the hot and cold energy that stimulates curiosity, triggers emotional engagement, and keeps her off balance just enough to keep investing. The human brain craves tension and release. Music works this way, great storytelling works this way. And so does attraction. When you push, showing charm, interest, approval, you draw her in, but when you pull, detach, playfully reject, or introduce ambiguity, you ignite the fear of loss. And guess what? People chase what might slip away. Think of it like emotional gravity. If you're too available, there's no pull, no mystery, no emotional spike. You become predictable. You become boring, but if you're all pull, too distant, too cold, then you're just a ghost, not a game. It's the interplay that makes it work. There was a guy I knew, Marcus, smart guy, average looks, but the way he spoke to women was something else. I watched him talk to a model at a rooftop bar once. She complimented his jacket. He smirked and said, "Thanks, you almost have good taste." She laughed, punched his arm. A push, then a playful jab, a pull. Later in the conversation, she leaned into him. He pulled away slightly, looked out at the skyline, and said, "You ever wonder what it'd be like to disappear for a year?" A strange question. Unexpected, she paused, hooked, curious. That's the magic. Push, connection, pull, disorientation. It's like giving her emotional champagne. Intoxicating and unpredictable. The most powerful part of push-pull isn't just what you say, but what you withhold. Silence can be seductive. Not responding right away, letting the space breathe, not jumping at every opportunity to validate her. Because she's used to that, she's used to guys who fall all over themselves to impress her. The moment she feels like she has you, she stops chasing. There's science behind this too. Studies in behavioral psychology show that people are more attracted to partners who show a mix of interest and ambiguity. When someone is too into you, your brain labels them as safe, which quickly becomes boring. But when someone's behavior is inconsistent, when there's just enough approval to keep you hopeful, but just enough distance to keep you guessing, your brain obsesses. That's the mechanism behind push-pull. It triggers uncertainty, and uncertainty amplifies attraction. Let's go deeper. Imagine you're on a date. You lean in close, lock eyes, make her laugh. She's smiling, invested, emotionally warmed up. That's the push. Now, you shift, check your watch, break eye contact, or even excuse yourself to the bar. Pull, it creates a momentary drop in emotional connection, but that dip creates space for her to re-engage. Maybe she asks where you went. Maybe she touches your arm when you return. The more she invests, the deeper her emotional hook. Women especially hive. You women are used to being pursued. Their guard is up. But when you create a pattern that confuses that expectation, when you push just enough to be alluring, then pull just enough to be unpredictable, you bypass the logical mind and start dancing with her subconscious. There was a woman I once met. Let's call her Eva. She was used to being adored, Instagram, model level. She told me once, men always fall too fast. It's exhausting. So I did the opposite. First time we met, I complimented her book choice, not her looks. I told her she had great taste, for someone probably raised on Disney fantasies. She laughed, unsure if I was flirting or teasing. That's exactly where I wanted her off. Balance, curious. At dinner I listened intensely. Pushed. Then, halfway through, I changed subjects abruptly and told a story about a dream I had where I ran away to Peru and became a chef. No connection to the convo, just a sharp left turn, pull. She looked at me like I was a puzzle she had to solve. That night ended with her kissing me first. Push-pull creates emotional tension, and tension is the heartbeat of seduction. It's not about being manipulative, it's about understanding polarity. Women are emotional creatures. They experience reality through feeling. If you can stimulate an emotional roller coaster without ever being cruel, you become unforgettable. You become addictive. The trick is calibration. If she's pulling away, you push slightly. If she's all over you, you pull back a little. You never give her exactly what she expects. You give her what feels right in the moment, but not in the way she's used to receiving it. You can push with a compliment, then pull with a challenge, push with eye contact, pull with physical distance. Push with a personal story, pull with silence afterward. It's a rhythm, a beat, a seduction song that only you control. And once she starts playing to your rhythm, once she starts responding to your shifts, leaning into your pullbacks, smiling when you tease, chasing after you when you disappear, you'll feel the power. Most men never taste, because when you master push-pull, you're no longer just attracting. You're creating emotional dependency. You become the one she remembers when the room is silent, the one she checks her phone for, the one she dreams about because she never quite figured you out. That's not just game, that's alchemy. She asked, so what do you do? You smile, you pause. Not because you're hiding something, but because you know something most men don't. Answers kill mystery. So instead, you look her in the eyes and say, that depends who's asking. And why? A boom. Now she's leaning in. Curious, suspicious, hooked, because you didn't give her an answer. You gave her a question inside an answer. You created intrigue, and intrigue is the soul of seduction. The moment a woman thinks she has you figured out, the chase dies. Predictability is death. Information, when given too easily, doesn't feel earned. It feels boring. But when you wrap your truth in layers, when you reveal just enough to provoke her imagination without fully satisfying it, you don't just become attractive, you become an obsession. See, most men show up like open books. Page 1, job. Page 2, hobbies. Page 3, I think you're really beautiful. By the end of the conversation, there's nothing left to discover. No secrets, no edges, no question marks, but intrigue. Intrigue is built on shadows. It's built on withheld information, half-told stories, unexpected silences, and unexplained smiles. It's the emotional equivalent of a door that's slightly ajar. You can't help but want to peek inside. I knew a guy named Julian, not classically handsome, not particularly rich, but dangerously intriguing. Every conversation with him felt like walking into a room with hidden compartments. He'd talk about something ordinary, a book, a place he visited, but always leave one detail out. And women would ask, wait, what happened next? And he'd grin. Another time, it wasn't arrogance. It was discipline. He understood that mystery isn't created by what you say, but by what you don't. We are wired to complete stories. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Psychology shows we remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. The same goes for people. If a woman feels like she doesn't fully get you, you stay in her mind. Her imagination fills in the blanks. And imagination is far more powerful than any autobiography you could ever share. Let me give you a story. Years ago, I met a woman intelligent, stunning, emotionally sharp, the kind that sees through men like glass. On our first date, she asked, "What was your last relationship like?" I looked at her, let the silence stretch, and said, "It taught me how dangerous comfort can be." I didn't mention the girl. I didn't explain the drama. I didn't need to. That one sentence told her enough to get curious, and not enough to feel satisfied. She leaned in. "What do you mean? That's intrigue, that's power." You give her breadcrumbs, not blueprints. When you're too available, emotionally or intellectually, there's nothing to chase. But if she senses that there's a storm behind your smile, a story behind your silence, you become the guy who keeps her up at night. And it's not just about words, it's how you carry yourself, your body language, your tone, your vibe. You want her asking, "What is he thinking? Why is he smiling like that? What's he not saying?" Another example. A man named Theo, quiet, intense, mysterious. He was the kind of guy who said more with a glance than most men say with a monologue. When he'd talk to a woman, he'd listen more than he spoke. He'd throw out a story, say, "I once got lost in Istanbul, chasing something I thought I needed," and then just stop. No follow-up, no explanation. She'd press him for details. He'd look at her and say, "Some stories aren't meant for first dates." That's it. The hook, she's invested, she's chasing, and that's the reversal. Most men chase. They over-reveal, over-compliment, over-share. They're terrified of silence. They think more words mean more connection. But it's the space between the notes that makes the music seductive. The unknown is magnetic. Now, here's the twist. Intrigue isn't about lying. It's not about creating a fake persona. It's about layering the truth. You don't have to pretend to be a secret agent. But you do need to stop volunteering your life story like it's a job interview. Mystery isn't deception, it's curation. Think of your personality like a movie trailer. You don't show the ending. You give a glimpse of the action, the emotion, the tension, but you leave the best parts for later. You build anticipation. And anticipation is emotional currency. Even on social media, don't be too obvious. Let your life suggest something interesting without screaming it. Show moments, not full explanations. If she looks through your feed and knows everything about you, she won't feel the need to meet you. But if she's left wondering, why was he in Tokyo? Who was he with? Why did he delete that post? Then she'll want answers. And she'll want you. Intrigue is what separates the man she dates from the man she fantasizes about. There was a time I walked away from a woman mid-conversation, not rudely, just deliberately. She was telling a story. I laughed, said I know exactly how that feels, then checked my watch, leaned in and whispered, "Remind me to tell you something that'll blow your mind, next time," then I left. Later that night, she texted me, "Next time, you're evil, not evil, just playing chess while most men are playing checkers." She wasn't used to someone controlling the narrative like that. And that's the key. You're not just reacting to her world. You're pulling her into yours. She can't chase what stands still. She can't desire what's obvious. But give her questions with no answers, stories with no endings, smiles with no explanations, and she'll follow. Because we all crave the unknown, we're drawn to what we don't understand, and the moment she thinks she's figured you out, you change the rhythm. That's the art, that's the game, that's intrigue. She smiles and so do you. She leans in a little and you tilt your body just slightly. Her voice drops, becomes softer, and so does yours. You're not mimicking her, you're not acting, you're syncing. You're reflecting her rhythm, her pace, her energy, and she feels something strange, something familiar. Something she can't quite explain. It's called the mirror technique, and it's one of the most underestimated forces in seduction, because it doesn't scream attraction. It whispers connection. This isn't about flattery. It's not parroting her words or faking emotions. That's amateur hour. The real mirror technique happens on a deeper level. It's subconscious, emotional. It taps into the primal circuits of her brain that are constantly scanning for one thing: is this person like me? Because when the brain finds similarity, it lowers its guard. When the heart feels familiarity, it opens. You become less of a stranger, more of a reflection. And when she sees herself in you, her energy, her emotion, her vibe, it triggers something ancient. She trusts you, she feels you, even if she doesn't know why. There's a psychological term for this: limbic resonance. It's the phenomenon where two people's emotional states begin to sync, especially when there's empathy, rapport, or strong connection. And once you're in limbic sync with her, you can lead the interaction anywhere. I knew a guy named Ray. Quiet, calm, always present, but his presence hit hard. Women would melt around him, not because of flashy words or alpha posturing, but because he could tune in so deeply, they felt like they'd known him forever. He once told me, "I don't seduce women by speaking. I seduce them by feeling what they feel before they even say it." That's what mirroring does. It bypasses logic and speaks to the nervous system. It says, "You're safe with me, you're seen." But here's the key: it has to be subtle. Real mirroring is not mechanical, it's emotional calibration. She's speaking with excitement, you mirror her enthusiasm, but through your filter. She's opening up about something vulnerable. You slow your voice, soften your eyes, match her vulnerability not with words, but with energy. And, when done right, it creates a sensation women crave, being understood without having to explain themselves. Let me tell you a story. I was at a jazz lounge in New York. Dim lights, low voices, everything smooth. A woman sat next to me at the bar, confident, sharp, not easily impressed. She ordered an old-fashioned. I glanced at her glass and said, "Classic choice." She nodded, cool but distant, so I watched her. How she breathed, how she held the glass, how her energy pulsed. She was controlled on the surface, but slightly restless underneath, so I mirrored that. I kept my posture elegant, but tapped my finger on the counter once, like her. Subtle, not a copy, just a signal. Then she spoke about the music. It's unpredictable, but structured. I nodded slowly and said, "Just like you, probably." She paused. Tilted her head. "What makes you say that?" I didn't explain. I didn't need to. She felt it. I was syncing with her without needing to name it. And for the rest of the night, her body language mirrored me. That's the power of reflection. At first, you match her energy, then she begins to follow yours. Here's what most men miss. Seduction isn't about pushing yourself onto her. It's about drawing her into herself, with you as the mirror. When she talks, listen not just to her words, but to the emotion underneath. Is she playful, curious, guarded? Let that become the rhythm of your response. This works powerfully during emotional spikes. If she's excited, match her intensity, then slightly exceed it and she'll rise with you. If she's anxious or skeptical, you drop into calm, grounding energy, and her nervous system will begin to mirror yours. That's not just social skill, that's emotional leadership. There's a study from Stanford that showed people unconsciously mirror the body language and tone of those they trust and like. And here's the real kicker. When someone mirrors us, we don't just feel understood, we also feel connected. We think they just get me. That's why women say things like, "I don't know what it is about him, it just clicked." It's not the words. It's the resonance. There was a woman, Nina, high-powered type A, always in control. On our first meeting, she was guarded, precise, almost corporate in her demeanor. Most guys tried to impress her. I did the opposite. I mirrored her tempo, crisp, articulate, sharp. She felt seen. Then, when I saw a glimpse of softness, a smile, a lowered gaze, I slowed my cadence, made my tone softer. She unconsciously followed. Her voice dropped. Her posture shifted. Suddenly, the boss energy faded. The woman emerged. She later told me, "You're one of the only people I don't feel the need to perform around." She didn't fall for me. She fell for herself in my presence. That's the game. You're not trying to be someone else. You're becoming her reflection, just long enough for her to drop the mask. And when the mask comes off, that's when real attraction begins. But here's the caution. Mirroring must be authentic. If you're faking it, she'll feel it. Women are intuitive. They read energy faster than they read words. Your goal isn't to imitate, it's to attune. Feel what she feels. Match what you genuinely experience with her. And if it doesn't resonate, don't force it. Not every mirror fits every face. When it does click, though magic. She'll talk about how easy it was to talk to you, how time disappeared, how she felt like she could tell you things she's never told anyone. She's not in love with your resume or your stories. She's in love with the way she felt seen because you reflected the parts of her that most people miss. And that's the ultimate seduction, giving her back to herself in a way that makes you unforgettable. If this just unlocked something in you, imagine what's coming next. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because the game doesn't end here. It's only getting deeper.